Oh, there's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with a quick used bookstore haul. You saw my on-haul video a few days ago. These are the books I got in trade. Hopefully these will be better. First up is my first Saul Bellow novel, More Die of Heartbreak. I've never read anything by him. He was born in Canada, grew up in Chicago. Actually, I had another copy of this on my shelf in Canada and got rid of it without ever reading it. This is one of his later novels. That's right, 1987. More Die of Heartbreak, and it's described by Newsweek as having comic exuberance. There's nothing on the back that tells me what it's about. I don't want to know what it's about. Let's see if the first sentence is any good. The first paragraph is pretty interesting. Last year, while he was passing through a crisis in his life, my Uncle Ben, B. Crater, the well-known botanist, showed me a cartoon by Charles Addams. It was an ordinary cartoon, good for a smile, but Uncle was hung up on it and wanted to discuss it elaborately. I didn't feel like analyzing a cartoon. He insisted. He mentioned it in so many connections that I became irritated and considered having the damn thing framed for his birthday. Hang it on the wall and be rid of it, I thought. Ben could get on my nerves now and then, as only a person holding a special place in your life can. He did hold a special life, definitely. I loved my uncle. I haven't read very much 19th century American literature, so I picked this up. William Dean Howells' A Hazard of New Fortunes, 1890. Chunky novel. I like my 19th century novels to be chunky. Weirdly laid out on the page. Look at... If I want to write any notes, there's certainly a lot of room at the bottom of the page. And... it's about a self-made millionaire and his conflicts with an idealistic reformer in New York City. It also has weird stuff that maybe this is typical of American literature at the time, but there's weird stuff at the end. Weird appendices. We have an autobiographical essay. That's fine. Then we have notes to the text. No problem. And then the next section, actually, this is separate from the appendices, is called Textual Apparatus. What the heck? The first one is Textual Commentary. Okay, I can deal with the title of that, Textual Commentary, but it gets weird after that. Textual Notes, which is different than the other notes somehow. And then Emendations. And there's some examples. This is like biblical scholarship. Rejected substantives. What the hell? We need byways in Bookland to sort this all out. Word division. And then a commentary by the pretentious but very gifted writer from The New Yorker, Adam Gopnik. He never met a comma he didn't like. Anybody read William Dean Howells? Do you think I'm going to like this? Next up, because you know my eye, when I'm in any bookstore, my eye always gravitates to the writer that I've never heard of before, so I picked up a novel by an Australian novelist of Sri Lankan descent. Her name is Chandani Lokuge. If the Moon Smiled. Jacqueline, any comments? It's about a Sri Lankan-born woman in a loveless marriage, estranged from her 2 Australian children. Published in 2000. I actually, when I bought this, I was so frazzled, I'm often frazzled, that I thought I was buying a copy of Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, which I would like to reread, but in fact I bought a copy of Another Country by James Baldwin, which I also want to reread. I read it about 15 years ago and loved it. I remember very little about it, but I read Giovanni's Room about 30 years ago and remember even less. But this is a powerful novel, and I might even be doing a buddy reread of this next year. Tim Winton's Cloud Street. I didn't need this book. I have the ebook on Scribd, at least the last time I checked, but it was dirt cheap and in good condition. I have only read, is it called Breathing or Breath, which I quite liked. And I have a memoir of his on the shelf, and this is another one of his well-known novels, Cloud Street. 2 rural families. that find themselves in the big city in Australia. Opening paragraph. Will you look at us by the river? The whole restless mob of us on spread blankets in the dreamy, briny sunshine, skylarking and chiacking about for one day, one clear, clean, sweet day, in a good world in the midst of our living. Yachts run before an unfelt gust, with bag-necked pelicans riding above them, the city their twitching backdrop, all blocks and points of mirror light down to the water's edge. Yes, Mr. Winton does know how to write. I have never read this. Richard Yates' Revolutionary Road. It was made into a movie. Thankfully, I found one that doesn't have the movie tie-in cover. Price tag issues, I gotta get that sticky stuff off. 1961 novel portraying the opulent desolation of the American suburbs. It's supposed to be an amazing novel, right? Don't you think so? Opening sentence. The final dying sounds of their dress rehearsal left the Laurel players with nothing to do but stand there, silent and helpless, blinking out over the footlights of an empty auditorium. It was a vintage modern classic from India. Phoenix Fled. The author is Atiya Hossain, and I don't imagine she's still alive. She was born in 1913, but at the time of publication she was living part-time in India, part-time in the UK. This was published in 1953. It's about an arranged marriage between a little servant girl and a middle-aged cook with an opium habit. Well, that doesn't sound boring. I'm pretty sure it was Adam of Memento Mori in the book recommendation video he made with Doris for me some months ago that recommended Thomas Bernhard's The Loser to me. He didn't think it would be a Sean book, and I actually didn't quite remember that's how I heard about it when I bought this second-hand copy, but I did. The Loser by Thomas Bernhard, translated from the German by Jack Dawson, and it's about Glenn Gould and genius and creativity. It's a one-paragraph novel, I think. Opening sentence. Even Glenn Gould, our friend and the most important piano virtuoso of the century, only made it to the age of 51, I thought to myself as I entered the inn. This is a fairly recent novel by the gay Sri Lankan Canadian novelist Shyam Salvadurai. I've only read his debut, Funny Boy. I heard Cinnamon Gardens wasn't so good. I had an unread copy of it on my shelf for years. Don't have it anymore, sadly. But this one's more recent, The Hungry Ghosts, and it's a perfectly brand new used copy. It was a finalist for the Governor General's Awards back at the time. 2013 novel. And it's about a powerful Sri Lankan matriarch with a gay grandson. That's all I need to know about that, so let's see how it starts. On the day I turned 13, my grandmother, with whom my mother, my sister, and I lived by then, invited me to go for a drive after school. This is my favorite African novel, No Violet Bulawayo's We Need New Names. I have a hardcover copy, and this is the softcover UK edition, and it's so colorful that I thought I would buy it for a giveaway or to give to somebody, saying you must read this book. But the more I looked at it, no, I'm keeping this. This is such a good book that I need to have both editions. Isn't it fabulous? And finally, Adam, if you happen to be watching this, please turn the video off now, because I picked up a copy of Normal People, Sally Rooney. It was in brand new condition for $6 at the used bookstore. Otherwise, I would never spend good money on a novel that I will probably not enjoy and probably won't finish. I hated her debut, Conversations with Friends, and couldn't finish it. But I read her short story, the title of which escapes me. I'll put up a GIF here. 5-star read. It's one of the few 5-star reads from the Faber 90 series of individually bound short stories. So I have a renewed appreciation that she actually can write. At least that one short story was excellent. So I will give this a try. Normal People, My Friendship with Adam. Normal People, My Friendship with Adam. Oh my. So that is my used bookstore book haul. Thanks for watching.